So, Godot 4 just came out and completely overhauled the TileMap system, and I'm making this video to show off my new method for procedural generation, which I believe is much simpler than the older method. So really quick, before we get started, I just want to show you what we're going to be making in this tutorial, and this is an infinitely procedurally generated world in Godot 4. So right now, I just have a blank scene with this tiles image, and I'll explain more about that image later. But for now, first we're going to start off by adding a new tile map. And in the tile map, we're going to go to Properties, Tile Set, New Tile Set, and let's just click on our tile set. So now we're going to click on Tile Set and just add our tiles image. So I'm going to drag that in. It's telling me if I automatically want to create tiles, and I'm going to select yes, and it should size the tiles for me automatically. And that's pretty much all we need to do in this part. So now we're going to add a script, create, and we have our ready function. So I'm just going to delete all these comments. And okay. So the first thing we need to do is declare some variables. So rather than using the old Opensimplex noise, Godot 4 added a new FastNoiseLite, which adds some useful presets to create different types of noise. So to start off, we're going to write var moisture equals FastNoiseLite dot new. And we're going to do the same thing a couple times. It's the same concept as the other method, but definitely much simpler. So we're going to try that again with temperature and altitude. And then in the ready function, I'm just going to write moisture.seed is equal to rand I. Then we're going to do the same thing with temperature and altitude. So temperature dot seed and altitude dot seed is a random number. This will just make sure each of the noise functions don't give the exact same noise map. So in the process function, the first thing we're going to do is write generate chunk, and this function will have a position passed into it. So this is a big improvement from the older tutorial where the tile map would be a certain size and would not expand beyond that. This generate chunk will make it so that you can generate your world infinitely rather than being restricted to a certain size. So now we're going to create the generate chunk function. So first, generate chunk, and we're going to pass in our position. Now I'll explain what the position does slightly later, but for now we're going to need to turn this position to tile coordinates because currently it is in world coordinates and the tiles have their own separate coordinate system based off of their size. But this is actually really simple to do. All we need to do is call this function called local to map. So what we're going to do is create a new variable var tile pose equals local to map position. And this just converts the position that's passed into tile map coordinates. And I forgot there we go. Okay, so now we have our position. Now what we need to do is create a chunk. So we're going to decide on a chunk size up here. So var width equals 16. All right, and var height equals, let's also set that to 16. You could alternatively just use a single variable, but I just like having one for width and height. So we're going to start with for x in range width, for y in range height. So what we're doing right now is creating basically a square, which will be our chunk. What we're going to do is we are going to get the values for moisture and temperature and altitude at the specific position. So first we're going to create a few variables. Var moist equals moisture dot get noise 2D. And this takes in position as arguments. And we can't just pass in our X and Y because we also need to take into account where the chunk is being generated. And that's being given to us by this tile pose. So what we're going to do first is we are going to do tile pose dot X, which is the X property of the vector2, and we're just going to add the X from the for loop. And then for the same thing for the Y, tile pose dot Y, and we're going to add the Y coordinate. Did not. All right, so now that we have this for moisture, we can quickly do the same thing for temperature and altitude. So I'm just going to paste this in and quickly change the variables. All right, temp equals temperature and altitude. And I'm going to create a new variable called alt. All right, so now we have the moisture, temperature, and altitude at a specific position. But first, let's just quickly see how this would look in the world generating these tiles. So what we're going to do is call the setCell function. Now, this changed a lot from Godot 3 to Godot 4. As you can see, it takes in so many new properties, but it's relatively simple. The layer is, well, if you have multiple layers, it's shown right here. It's basically the different tile sets. So for this one, it starts off at 0, so we can go to that. So coordinates is asking for a vector 2i, and that's just going to be the position where the tile would be found in the world. So we're going to pass in a vector 2i, and we're going to pass in these same coordinates that we got earlier. And there we go. Now, what else does this need? It was also asking for a source ID. Now, the source ID is going to be 0 for this one because if you look over here, the ID is 0. It's just the source of the image. Next up, we're asking for atlas coordinates. Now, atlas coordinates is very simple. It's just the coordinates of the tile on the atlas. As you can see, when you hover over a tile, the coordinates change. And for now, we're just going to pass in, let's say, 1, 1. So vector 2i, 1, 1. So now before we can actually run the scene, we need to get this position value from somewhere. And to do that, we're going to create another scene. But first, let's just save this one. And we're going to make another one. I'm going to add a kinematic. Oh, character control body 2D. Hey, this was changed. And let's just add collision shape and a sprite. Okay, and I'm just going to use the icon image for this. Collision shape isn't defined. Let's just add one really quickly. And this is fine. Doesn't have to be precise. I'm just quickly making a character. Okay, we're going to attach a script. Create. Okay, so I've gone ahead and created a very simple character, and the main purpose of this is just to show where the tile map will be generated. So more importantly, we're going to need to add a camera to this player, and this is actually why we have the character in the first place. I'm just going to set the zoom to something like 0.5 and 0.5 just so we can see a little bit more around the player. So now if we go back into our TileMap scene, we can add a new node 2D. This actually should be the root of the scene. There we go, the TileMap is now its child, and we can also add the character body 2D.tscn. So now the character body 2D is also a child of the node 2D. And what we need to do is get a reference to this character body in the TileMap. And there's a pretty simple way of doing this, although I wouldn't recommend using this in an actual project. So we can do at onReady var player equals get parent dot get child 1. So what this will do is it'll get the parent of the tile map and it will get child 1. So this is child 0 and the character body would be child 1. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go over to our generate chunk, and instead of just having position, we're going to do player dot position. So now it'll be wherever the player is located. And we should be able to run the scene. And it's going to ask us to select a main scene, so we're just going to select the current scene. There we go. We have our character, and if I press the arrow keys, the movement on the character, I have to keep clicking the arrow keys. But as you can see, it's working. We're generating tiles where the player goes. It doesn't look smooth, but that's more of a problem on the character controller than anything. So let's go back to the code. So one thing, if you've noticed, was that the tiles were actually offset and the player wasn't actually centered. And this has a pretty simple fix. All we're going to do is here in the tilepose.x, all we're going to do is minus the width over 2. And we're going to do the same thing with the position.y. And this will just make it so that the loop starts to the left of the player and finishes slightly to the right, and we'll center the player. So let's just quickly add this to all of the noise functions. And we're even going to do this here in the set cell. Now we're going to do the exact same thing in the position.y. So minus height, H-E-I-G-H-T over 2. And let's just put this into each of our tilepose.y. Now if we run the scene again, as you can see, the player is centered. Once again, the movement is the problem here, not the actual tile map. If you have your own character controller, this will look much better on your end. I just created this one for simplicity's sake. Alright, so now what we're going to do is actually generate the world, which is probably why you actually clicked on this video. So for now, I'm just gonna comment out this set cell function. This is where the new method really shines. It's just how simple it is compared to the older one. Rather than creating a bunch of dictionaries for each of the biomes and looping through everything, we can actually just get the values from the noise directly. So what we're gonna do is set cell, we're gonna create a new one, and we're going to try just quickly fill this in again with 0 vector to I. This, remember, the second one is the world position. I'm actually going to copy this from the older function. Take that, put that there. Now we have the position. Next up, I'm just going to put 0. This is the source ID, which tile image you're using. So this last vector 2, the atlas coordinates, is how we're actually achieving this new method of procedural generation. You could treat your atlas kind of like a graph with the y-axis representing temperature and the x-axis representing moisture. So as the x value increases, moisture increases. And the y-axis is actually the inverse, because in Godot, going up is actually negative. So all we have to do is have the heat decreasing as you go up in the y. So it's really hot, colder, colder, and colder. And then you just fill in the tiles in between and you get this nice gradient. So what we're going to do to use this, we are going to set it to a vector 2. And this is going to be a little bit of math, but what we're basically going to do is we're going to use the moisture and temperature values as the x and y values of this vector 2 to produce a random tile from this atlas. Alright, so inside this vector 2, I've currently just put in x and y, but we're actually going to use the noise values in here in a minute. But first, what we need to do is multiply these moist, temp, and out by 10. So the reason we're multiplying by 10 is because the noise function returns values from -0.5 to 0.5. And by multiplying by 10, we can get these values from -5 to 5. All right, so now that we have our values from -5 to 5, we are going to go back to our vector 2 and type this expression into it. Now, what this is doing is taking our moisture values and our temperature values and plugging it into this atlas to receive a tile for a specific biome. So what we're doing first is adding 10 to our moisture value. And the reason we're doing this is because we don't want negative numbers, because none of these coordinates are negative. So by adding 10, rather than having it from -5 to 5, our values are going to be from 0 to 20, okay? And the reason I chose 20 for this is because 20, when divided by 5, will return values either 1, 2, 3, or 4 when we round it. And conveniently, we have a 4 by 4 grid. Since we're plugging in these 1 through 4, when we run the code, it will pick a random one of these tiles. So if we try this out right now, we have some grass over here, and if we go over to the right, as you can see, the world is being generated underneath. And in order to see this a little bit better, what we can do is increase our width and height. 32 by 32, let's say. So now, as you can see, the world is definitely much larger than it was before. And to really sell the aspect of the infinite procedural generation, what you can do is set the size of the tiles being generated to slightly larger than the screen size. The idea is that you shouldn't be able to see the borders, and you will be able to, it'll look like you are walking in an infinitely procedurally generated world. And I'm also going to show this off with a slightly better character controller, just so you can see how this would look in the end. Alright, so back in the game, I've gone ahead and changed the character controller so it should be much smoother now. And you should be able to see the procedural generation in action. As you can see, you can't see any of the tiles being generated, and this character is kind of slow, but that can easily be changed. So as a last and optional step, if you want to create oceans and land masses, you can actually filter out tiles below a certain threshold in the altitude, and I'm just going to do that really quickly. So if alt is less than, let's say, 2, then all we're going to do is let's just copy over our setCell function here. And if you look closely, you can see that all of the water tiles share the same x coordinate for their atlas coordinates, which is 3. So what we can do is we can go over here to our vector 2, set that to 3, and we're still going to be rounding the y coordinates so we can get the different types of water. And then all we have to do now is write else. So any coordinate that is above this, we will do the normal generation, and let's just take our set cell, cut, and paste. So if we run the game now, as you can see, there are not only land masses, but also oceans, and this should actually wrap up the tutorial. If you have any questions, just ask them in the comments, and yeah, thank you.